Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us here at Coolest Life. My name is Tony, and I'm here to walk you through some things about Scottish Rite that you may not know. If you're brand new to Masonry, this is definitely going to be a whole lot of brand new information. If you're new to Masonry, but you haven't joined Scottish Rite, this is going to open your eyes to some things in Scottish Rite that we have, and some things that they support, and the way things they operate, and everything like that. Beware. Beware as I say this, because if you hear people say they're an expert on Masonry and yet they're not a Mason, that's like saying, well, I'm an expert in surgery, but I'm not a surgeon. Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense. I'm an expert in fire protection, but I'm not a fireman. Okay, beware. Beware. I will say about this, I am a Scottish Rite Mason. I'm actually a KCCH, which I'm going to explain that to you in just a little bit. But I'm going to go through kind of the structure and who we report to and how it's kind of built and some of the things you can expect from Scottish Rite if you decide to join, or if you're just trying to learn about Scottish Rite a little bit. So come along and join us, because you've just entered the Coolest Life, Scottish Rite Edition. So let me give you some background of my expertise. I've been at Scottish Rite, I guess, 9 years. Yeah, that'd be 9 years, maybe 10 years. And I have progressed through the KCCH. I got a little red hat, which I will show you a picture of here in just a minute, and talk to you about the different hats that we have. I was also the Valley Secretary for 3 years, which tells you, yeah, you probably knows a little bit about Scottish Rite and how it works and different things. But I'm going to tell you about the organizations and our hierarchy. So let's go get right onto it. I'm going to turn this thing around so you can see my computer that I have right here. So let's kind of start from the beginning. What is Scottish Rite? Scottish Rite is an appendant body within Masonry. So if you're a Mason, or also known as Freemasons, you can then join Scottish Rite. So first and foremost, you must be a Freemason. Now, after you get that done and you've gone through your first 3 degrees of Masonry, you can then join Scottish Rite or York Rite or the Shrine, or all 3 if you wanted to. There's also other organizations, Order of the Amaranth, Eastern Star. There's lots of different organizations you can join within. I would say the 3 main ones are Scottish Rite, York Rite. Let me get this thing straight. The 3 main ones are Scottish Rite, York Rite, and the Shrine. So, of course, you all know what Shriners Hospitals are, and I'm going to do another video that's going to dive into Shriners and what they do and how they're organized and everything. Now, let's look at the Scottish Rite. So Scottish Rite, as you can see, it starts with the 4th degree. You see that? That's a 4. So there is no 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree in Scottish Rite. There is also no 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. There are no other degrees, to include the 33rd, in Masonry. You can't be a 33rd degree Mason. They make that perfectly clear. There's no such thing as a 33rd degree Mason. Anyone who tells you they know someone's a 33rd degree Mason is either lying or they don't know what they're talking about. One of the two. More than likely, the latter. They don't know what they're talking about. There is such thing as a 33rd degree Scottish Rite. So you can be Scottish Rite and be a 33rd. Okay? Let's make that perfectly clear. Now, as I use my little clicker here, there are 4 bodies within what we actually do call them bodies within Scottish Rite. You got your Lodge of Perfection, which is where most of them do their business. You got your Chapter Rose Croix, Council Kadosh, and Consistory. Once you get initiated in Scottish Rite in most jurisdictions, and let me clarify that, jurisdictions, what is that? That would be your state or your Commonwealth, or if you're in DC, your province. Is DC a province? Yeah, anyway, the DC jurisdiction. So they're all jurisdictions. There may be some outside of the country. Those are called their own jurisdiction. Jurisdiction of Puerto Rico or someplace like that. So anyway, so we don't want to use the word state. We want to use the word jurisdiction. And that goes for Freemasonry also. You want to say jurisdiction. It's not the Freemasons of Texas. It's the Freemasons of the jurisdiction of Texas. Now, unlike Freemasons, whereas the top person in Freemasonry is the leader of that state, that's not so much the case in Scottish Rite. Because in Scottish Rite, you will have a leader of the state. He will be the Sovereign Grand Inspector General for your state, or also known as your deputy. So you can call them the deputy. In most jurisdictions, they're called a deputy, and they are just over that particular state or that jurisdiction. However, they have a boss, and their boss is in DC. Now, I'm going to talk about the southern jurisdiction. Okay, so the southern jurisdiction, their headquarters is in DC, okay, District of Columbia. They're in our nation's capital, and they've got a place called House of the Temple, and that's where they do all their business, and they have their coronations for the 33rd degrees that they do every 2 years. But let's go through this really quick. So you've got that organization there, and then here's some of their logos that they have for each one of those Knights of Rose Croix and those organizations we just mentioned. Okay, so you can actually join Lodge of Perfection and stop right there and not go any further. Obviously, they're in order, so you cannot just jump in and join the consistory without being a member and having gone through the other degrees within Lodge of Perfection. Just like Freemasonry, there's 3 separate degrees that you need to go through. They're either acted out or told to you or whatever the jurisdiction requires. In Scottish Rite, they're the same way. Depends on what jurisdiction you're in. You may be required to sit through and actually watch them act out the kind of mini play that goes on with a particular degree. Most of these are to teach you a lesson in being frugal, being good to one another, giving to the poor. There's lots of different meanings behind each and every one of these 33 degrees. Most people who join Scottish Rite get up to the consistory at the 32nd degree, and they basically stop there. And when you stop there, you essentially get a black hat, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. So let's see. What's the qualifications to be in Scottish Rite? Well, one, you must be a Master Mason in good standing. I mentioned that before. You must complete a petition that includes with the appropriate fees, because there's fees to all this. You got an initiation fee, an application fee, and or your yearly fees. You attend a reunion. Reunions can happen. Unlike a Blue Lodge, you don't have to have a reunion. You just basically got to be initiated. So, but your lodge is going to schedule that. It could be next week, in 2 weeks, next month, in 6 months. Typically, a reunion for Scottish Rite will happen. I've never seen them more than twice a year. Normally in spring and fall, they'll have a reunion. And it's basically they collect all their applications of people that want to be initiated in the Scottish Rite, and they will do the initiation and do all the degrees that we mentioned in a day and a half, maybe over an entire weekend. It just depends on how many they want to act out and how many they're prepared to do. I will say there's probably more than not that only have a reunion once a year. Okay, some may only do it twice, may do it every other year, but it just depends on jurisdiction. What do they support? What are some of the things they do? Like Shriners, you've heard of Shriners hospitals. Well, Scottish Rite actually has hospitals. They actually have clinics within hospitals, and they also have educational partnerships with one that I know of. I believe I visited them, was Valdosta State University in southern Georgia has got a Scottish Rite partnership that they do. Other ones, I know Appalachian State. I've actually been to that center. They've got a partnership that they do, Appalachian State, North Carolina, that they do with the Scottish Rite. And they help fund teachers that are going to be working with children. Most of them are, it depends on what their state is. Their state or jurisdiction might say, we want to focus on autism. Okay, so that'll be their philanthropy. So they'll have an autism center, maybe even within one of the Scottish Rite buildings in a particular area. Of our 5 districts within Scottish Rite in the state of Georgia, we all have some type of clinic that we support, either on an educational partnership or just a straight up clinic. And that can vary from district to district and jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Let's see if I got anything else down here. Oh, I don't. Okay. So, we've talked about this a little bit. Now, if you want to read up on the history and the founding of everything of Scottish Rite, there's Scottish Rite history. This is scottishRite.org about history. So this is the national southern jurisdiction, as it says right here, southern jurisdiction. And you can go to the northern jurisdiction. They got basically the same kind of setup that they can tell you about the history and different things of Scottish Rite. And you can say, oh my gosh, that's the devil. Well, not really. It was a bar called the Devil at the time, but there's lots of bars with all kinds of names that people used to meet in, but we don't anymore. So highest degree, 1801. So this actually talks about all the history of Scottish Rite. Now, what is the significance of the hats? Okay, so when you first get started, and we talked about the first degree in Masonry, once you get through these, all four of these, when you become a 32nd degree, you get your hat. And it even says right here, 32nd degree Master of the Royal Secret. That's what you're called. And you refer to each other as brother and companion, and just there's lots of different terms. Depends on where you're at. If you stay involved and you're involved 50 years, you would get a blue hat. That is based on time in good standing. So you can't come in and demit and basically drop out for 10 years and then come back and gain that time. You must have been in good standing for 50 years. Yes, those gentlemen are held in high esteem, very high esteem. Now, if you've got a red hat, or if you end up getting a white hat, you would get a pin that looks like this 50 right here. And you would get a pin. Let me zoom that in just a little bit. See that right there? There's a pin that looks like that you could actually put on the side of your hat. Now, you would put it on the side of a 50-year hat, but if you happen to be a 50-year Scottish Rite, you might want to put it here if you're a black hat, or here if you're a red hat. I've actually never seen any that were black hats that were 50-year. There may be some. I'm sure there probably are in some jurisdictions. I just don't know of any. Let's look at this white hat down here. Now, you can see a couple of things here. This one here says 32nd degree. This one here says 32nd degree, but it says Knight Commander. Knight Commander Court of Honor, that is given to you by a vote of the other Knight Commanders in your jurisdictions. Basically, they vote if they feel you are deserving of a red hat, and that means you've been involved in a Scottish Rite, you've been involved in your blue lodges, you've been involved in the community. Basically, it's essentially they vote on you. So anytime you have a vote, it's kind of a popularity contest. It really is. But they'll vote on you to get that KCCH. You can see it says Knight Commander Court of Honor. So KCCH. So you'll say that's and you should be referred to as honorable brother. Okay, so not like the black hat, but once you become a red hat, you're honorable brother. Now, once you get the 33rd, now this one here is going to take you a vote. At minimum, you must have been in Scottish Rite 5 years before you would get eligible. So basically, you have worn this hat for at least 5 years before you were eligible to be voted in to get a red hat. It may take you longer because they don't just give it to everybody who's eligible. They might only be able to give 2 red hats every 2 years, because they only give those out every 2 years to include the white hats. So every 2 years they have a vote and they decide who's going to be. They'll put them in order, and the SGIG, Sovereign Grand Inspector General of the state, will decide, or the jurisdiction will decide who in your jurisdiction. They have the last say. It's a dictatorship. It really is. The brothers can vote. Most SGIGs will take the brothers' vote on record, and they'll say, yeah, okay, I agree with you, but you've got these 4 guys listed, but I think number 1 deserves it, but I kind of want number 3 to get it and not number 2. That's his choice. And I've seen that happen before. The brothers in the local area aren't too happy about when that happens, but I will say it does happen. The 33rd. The 33rd is an honorable. You have to wear this hat 4 years before you are eligible for this hat. You cannot go from a black hat straight to a white. Doesn't happen. Impossible. Does not happen. It'd be like saying a private can now be a general. I don't think so. A private's rank, as soon as they decide to get commissioned, is lieutenant. They don't get a jump to major. They don't get a jump to lieutenant colonel or in the military. Same kind of thing here. You go from here, you can skip that in there because that's a 50-year anyway. So most people will go from here just like I did, and they'll go to a red hat. They'll hold it for at least 4 years before they're eligible for the white hat. Same kind of thing happens. The brothers in your jurisdiction, in your valley, what we call our valley, will rank the people who they feel is most deserving. However, the Sovereign Grand Inspector General of that state has the last say. As we go down here a little further, there are some awards called the Grand Cross. If you get a Grand Cross, you can then get a purple band around here. As you can see, it's not different. Most have this, and after that, you are the Deputy Supreme Counsel 33rd. This is what the color of hat that the person who's in charge of the state would, or jurisdiction, would wear. Okay. Sovereign Grand Inspector General is the next one down. So this one here, I think these are kind of interchangeable, actually. I think some jurisdictions have a deputy, and others, I know the one in Georgia jurisdiction, he's actually an SGIG of the Supreme Council. So he's actually he's an SGIG, so he wears that hat. And then there's only one guy that's got this, Donald Cole. I got his name right. So he's the only one that's got this hat here. He's the only one that's allowed to wear it, except for a person who is passed in that situation. Now, once these people here get these positions, and these are positions also, I believe they could wear that hat forever. So, of course, if this gentleman here one day becomes this one here, then he'll wear this hat forever. He never has to take it off, even if he steps down from the position. This person here can sit in this position, and there is only one in the country. There is only one in the southern jurisdiction. He could wear this. He could be in that position almost forever. It is really hard to remove one of those guys. They really got to be doing something stupid. I will say this. If he gets thrown in jail and gets, I don't know, a DUI or really gets in trouble with the law, he can lose this. In fact, you can lose all of these when that happens. I've seen that happen. I saw a brother, one brother got charges brought up on him in his Blue Lodge, and his Blue Lodge kicked him out of Masonry. Well, guess what? All this is gone. If you get kicked out of your Blue Lodge, you are no longer a Shriner. You are no longer a Scottish Rite. You are no longer anything in any independent bodies. You must be and be in good standing in your Blue Lodge first. Let's see if I got anything else here I want to share with you. Look, I think I just talked about hats. You can find hats all over the place. There's some other hats that look like, well, they're a little different. You can get some different things put on. You can see this here says Guard. So he's part of the Scottish Rite Guard. And there's also organizations within, like the Knights of St. Andrew. You will see most common. I want to see if I can find one of their hats, but I didn't. Anyway, I digress. That's not going to work. Okay, so you could also go on Wikipedia. It's pretty much accurate. You could check out the information on Wikipedia if you wanted to. And here's the information on the Grand Cross recipients for 2023 that we had. So as you can see, there's only 3 that got it this year. I'm sorry, 6 that got it this year for the entire country. And also here says, that doesn't say 3. That's not Roman numeral for 3 right there. That is their title. When a person becomes a white hat, which is what this is, a white hat, they are called illustrious. And that's actually capital I, small l, ill, illustrious. So you would call them illustrious brother. Anytime someone's got a white hat, not just a Grand Cross, but any white hats, you would say that they are now illustrious. So a white hat is considered an illustrious brother, whereas the red hat would be honorable brother. And this one here would be whatever hat he truly is, not just a blue hat. And as I said, the 50, you can put that on this hat here. If you've got one of these hats and you're a 50-year Mason and 50-year Scottish Rite Mason, you can then put that 50 on the side of this, but not until you reach that. And you can see how stiff these are. Some are different. This hat here is really stiff. There's no difference in the type of hats you get, whether you get a soft or a stiff one. As you could tell, this white one here is a little softer. So as it comes up here, it kind of gets soft really fast. These are soft in the center, but the sides from this line up is a little stiffer, but it's the same. So you can buy those that are more of a soft makeup and others that are a little more rigid, which is what this one here is not. This is a soft one here. You can see that's more rigid. So I think that's all I wanted to cover. One more thing. So basically one more thing would be do your research and get involved in those. I really like Scottish Rite. Scottish Rite tends to be a little more formal. It is typically coat and tie. No matter where you go in the country, it's coat and tie. I didn't say tuxedo. I also didn't say jeans and a polo. It is coat and tie in almost every jurisdiction that I've been to. Now, they will sometimes, even in Georgia, will go summer months, they'll say for 2 or 3 months, you can come to the meeting in a Scottish Rite polo, but you must still have slacks on. So you don't have to wear the long sleeve and the tie and the jacket. But typically in Scottish Rite, they want you in a button-down shirt, tie, and a jacket. That's pretty much requirement. They're not going to throw you out. They know some people come from work, but just be reminded that it is a little more formal. You only meet once a month. So you got 12 meetings a year that, we expect a little more than we do, say, the regular Blue Lodge member. But say, some Blue Lodges wear tuxedos. That happens. So keep that in mind if you're visiting from out of town. You're going to go see some members of Scottish Rite. But I hope that enlightens you a little bit about what Scottish Rite is, some of the things they do. And I've got some other videos coming up about York Rite that you're going to be really interested in with York Rite. It's a lot like Scottish Rite, where they're made up of more than just one organization. In Scottish Rite, there was 4. In York Rite, there's basically 3. And you don't have to advance to any of those. You can stay in one of them for as long as you like. And most jurisdictions typically want you to advance to the 33rd degree in Scottish Rite. So keep that in mind. All right, well, I'm going to let you go. Be sure to like and subscribe, and send this to your friends who might be considering joining the Scottish Rite. I need to get back out living the coolest life, Masonic edition.